there, Sycamore Canyon School. My name is Billy from Billy Bread. Your teacher told me that you're working on the California Gold Rush of 1849. Well, let me tell you something even cooler. That is when sourdough bread was introduced to California. So people in search of gold came from the east coast of the United States to the west coast. A lot of them immigrants from Europe. They carried their own sourdough. A lot of French bakers, European bakers, they brought their sourdough because this is pretty hardy stuff. It'll last you the rest of your life. Imagine you're on the trail on your way out to California and you want some bread. So you start it, you take some of this stuff from the night before, mix it with flour and water and salt. When you make camp, you have bread ready to go. You put it in your Dutch oven, you bake it on a campfire, delicious. So these prospectors brought it to California. They saw that the fog that would roll in the morning carried so much moisture, the yeast and bacteria that was in the air there made really tangy sourdough bread. So that's why San Francisco sourdough is so popular. It's got that special tang to it. The sourdough I make, not that tangy. It's kind of dry here in Thousand Oaks. Let's make a loaf of bread. First, we're gonna start with water, 350 grams, 400 grams of flour, 50 grams of semolina, 12 grams of salt, and the secret ingredient, sourdough starter. So this is just flour and water. There's yeast and bacteria in the air. It gets captured in this flour and water. It starts to eat the flour that's in there. The byproduct is carbon dioxide and lactic acid. Lactic acid makes it sour, hence sourdough. And the carbon dioxide is what makes sourdough bread rise. The difference between sourdough bread and all other breads is that the other breads use commercial yeast to rise, which is a lot quicker. This is naturally risen. It's actually a fermented food. Sourdough bread is actually more nutritious than regular bread because the flour is partially broken down by the yeast and bacteria, and it makes it a little easier for your body to digest that way. And it's easier for your body to absorb the vitamins and minerals that are already in flour because it's partially broken down already by the sourdough. So you want to be healthy? Eat sourdough bread. So we're going to put 160 grams of this. All of this together should be about 1,000 grams, 1 kilogram. So we're gonna mix this together until we have a shaggy mess. I think this is a good time for our first fun fact about sourdough. So the earliest recordings we have of sourdough bread are all the way back in 1500 BC, ancient Egypt. That means sourdough bread is more than 3,500 years old. That is just slightly older than your parents. This is well incorporated. We're just gonna let this rest now for 10 minutes. So here we have the loaf we've been working. What I'm gonna do now is called a stretch and fold. I do this about every 45 minutes to an hour and a half. We take some, we stretch it, fold it over itself. And then we rotate the bowl and do the same thing. This gives the gluten strength and gives the dough structure so that when the sourdough eats the flour, and we get that byproduct of carbon dioxide, there's going to be enough strength from the gluten to hold on to those air bubbles as it's released and rises in the oven, giving us a nice oven spring. All right, so we've been folding this dough for every hour on the hour about, and it's been about 5.5 hours, so it's ready for its final shape, and then we're going to put it into one of these proofing baskets, and then put it in the refrigerator for around 24 hours. This is how we shape.